Welcome back. On today's shows, Who Teaches Hate, we've been discussing how we learn prejudice. Trying to teach students the opposite is Anna Fiorentini, founder of Anna Fiorentini Film and Theatre School. Welcome, Anna.
Hello, lovely to be here.
How are you?
Welcome, Anna.
I'm good.
She was watching us here before and she was like, I want to go in, I want to be there, I want to talk as well.
Have my say.
Well, her school is celebrating its 15th year. Anna has noticed a downturn in students from ethnic minority backgrounds. They were the majority when she first started. And it's now fundraising for scholarships so that she can encourage more kids on lower incomes to join the school. So tell us more about your campaign, Anna.
Okay, so I set the school up 15 years ago.
Wow.
It was primarily for children who've got lots of talent but can't afford extortionate stage school fees.
Right.
Or those that want to increase in confidence and self-esteem via the performing arts. But what I found over the years, everyone said, oh, it's in Hackney, the flagship school's in Hackney. You'll get loads of funding, this is so good, it's so needed. But I found over the years, because of our successes, because of the Business of London Awards that it's won, it's got harder and harder to get funding. And you can get funding if it was going to be on gang crime drama or about guns, or if I was going to segregate, let's just have a drama group for the black children, let's have a drama group for the Muslim children, let's have a drama group for the disabled children, because I'm inclusive, I accept everybody.
Everyone.
It's very difficult to get funding. It's virtually impossible because I refuse. And aren't we supposed to be in an inclusive society?
Of course.
And yet from the top, where the funding is coming from, you have to tick boxes which encourages you to segregate. So I've started this campaign. I'm like, do you know what? It's getting impossible to get funding from mainstream funders. I'm just going to have to do it myself and try and raise funding for scholarships and bursaries, which is why I've started this campaign. We're trying to raise 30,000 by Christmas. So that we can support another 100 children per term for the next 3 years. So doing lots of fundraising events, etc. So I'm still filling in my funding bid, and I'm still trying to change the perception that just because you're successful, it doesn't mean you've got tons of money. You still want to help the very children that you're helping, but it's difficult to change mindsets.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I believe everyone who is bold and try for something that, as you said, is not ticking boxes, is always more challenges in it. Sorry, I
was just going to ask how it's very interesting. I mean, what inspired you to do this project?
Well, I mean, I trained as an actress, still am an actress, and I grew up in Hackney. And like I said, there was lots of little community drama clubs or clubs run by charities, but there was no professional training. My poor parents had to drag me into town to get training on a Saturday because I really wanted my dance, my singing and my drama classes, but there was nothing in the local area. So I just thought, no, I want West End directors, choreographers, musical directors coming to Hackney, giving something back to the community and giving traditional training so that all my students can compete with other students from more affluent areas. Again, going back to the funding thing, if I was just going to stick to street dance classes or drumming classes, yes, there are careers in those areas, but there's more than that.
Of course.
Going, you know, there's...
Of course. I mean, it was mentioned earlier that there's been a downfall in your ethnic minority. I mean, why is that? It started off so well with plenty ethnics, and what happened?
I think that's more to do with what's the word when an area of London becomes gentrified.
That's right, yeah.
So, because ironically, my fees aren't any more than what they were. I mean, obviously with inflation, but not compared to what they were. So when I first opened the school, we naturally had 85% were ethnic minorities. We've still got a large percentage of ethnic minorities, but just not as many. But I think that's to do with the area.
Okay.
And again, it's about, you were talking earlier about association. I disagree that just because you're ethnic minorities that you're going to come from poverty. Again, that's about perception and association. I've got lots of black friends who are very affluent, and I'm 3 times of what I am. Do you know what I mean? So it's about, you know, the perception. So when I've said we're a downturn in ethnic minorities, it shouldn't be associated with lack of bursaries, because not every ethnic minority is going to need a bursary. So,
Do you come up with a lot of prejudice within the field that you're doing, and how do you teach the students to come away from prejudice?
I've been very fortunate in that we haven't had, in the 15 years that I know of, any racial incidents. I think because we're teaching everyone, you're more likely to make it if you're unique.
It sounds like it gives it the opposite effect. Because you are teaching everybody, you're actually bringing every sort of community together.
We're teaching them, if you look different or you sound different, you're more likely to make it because you've got something unique about yourself. So that's what we're teaching. We're also teaching everyone to respect each other. And, you know, if you've got a problem, let's discuss it.
Yeah.
Obviously, I come from very role play, drama. Let's empathise, let's put ourselves in somebody else's shoes.
That's right.
How do they feel? I remember years ago, nothing to do with the school, it was a separate project. I worked with 10 black teenagers in Hackney, mainly boys, and 10 white police officers. It was about an hour's workshop, and I got them to role play. And I made sure that the white police officers played the black youth and vice versa.
Interesting.
And I set them up
Very clever of you.
lots of different scenarios. It could have gone for, I could have had a riot on my hands.
Yeah.
Phew, didn't have it. By the end, they were shaking each other's hands and they were like, thank you. I never realised, no wonder you felt victimised. Yeah. And I was like, I didn't realise how hard your job is, because how do you find, you know, the perpetrator, whatever. They both started to have an understanding.
A change of view,
I believe they start
Absolutely.
putting themselves in the other person's shoes.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, again, I don't think you can teach someone not to be prejudiced. But what you can do is step away from stereotypes and give them an understanding from,
Well,
different
you are on your 15th year of your school, so you have probably a lot of stories. Can you share with us some stories of, you know, success, you know, where you saw good results, people, maybe youths, you know, who came to you to say thank you because I was like this, I thought like this, I felt like this, now I'm like that.
Yeah.
Can you share anything with us that you can remember?
Yeah, I mean, I've got lots of stories, obviously they're confidential, of I know children that were about to go into a gang, for example, parents phoning me up crying, I found my child with a gun, and we've managed to turn their lives around. Obviously they're confidential stories, I can't give names. But in terms of career successes, we've had people like little Taj Miles, who was Simba in The Lion King in the West End, and Nipper in Oliver. He then went on to Matilda. He's now in a CBBC programme, Class Dismissed. Wonderful little actor, very down to earth and friendly. We've got Jermaine Jackman, who won The Voice a couple of years ago. Wow. Belinda Owusu, who had a 5-year contract with EastEnders playing Squiggle. Orla Hill, who's currently starring in the film Swallows and Amazons. So lots of lovely success stories. Our little Jaden is currently playing Fletcher in The Bodyguard.
Wow.
Alongside Beverly Knight.
I'm sure that many of those who are there look up to them, I believe, and they are like, I want to be, so I can be like them, isn't it?
I mean, the good thing is,
Motivates them.
I'm always like, I mean, I've got about 350 students. Most of them will not go into the profession.
Yes.
But everything that we're teaching them, how to be punctual, how to be respectful, how to smile at an interview and not go in with your hoodie on. You know, all of those kind of things. It's going to help them in whatever career they decide to go into. Yeah. So, you know, so when I say successes, I'm not just talking about TV, theatre, singing. It's like I know former students who are now working in companies, phoning me up saying I wouldn't have had the confidence to go for that interview. So yeah, to me that's just as good a success.
Of course, how rewarding. It's very, very rewarding. I mean, how much of a role do you think that entertainment industries, you know, have a part in playing in teaching prejudice?
Again, I think it goes back to stereotypes. I mean, I might be completely wrong, but in my experience, every time I see a film that is mainly a black cast, it's always about racism or street crime. Now, whose responsibility is it to make sure that we have black cast of a variety of different subjects? Right. You know, so I think I don't know whose responsibility it is, but I think it's important from a young age giving people of all cultures opportunities. And again, it goes back to my funding thing. Like, if I could only give funding to certain sectors of society, then it's not actually going to give everybody an opportunity to get different job roles when they're older. I remember seeing a few years ago an actor called Joseph Marcel, who plays the butler in The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. He was playing Claudius in Hamlet at the Haymarket Basingstoke. And I went to see him in this classical role, and I was like, wow. This is, I mean, actually playing Geoffrey is already against stereotype because he's a very posh middle-class butler. Exactly. But then I see him as in the Shakespearean, and I was like, what an amazing role model that is for my students. So I wrote to him. 2 days later, he rang me. came and gave a masterclass at my school. So all my young people could see, actually, we don't have to just play hoodies and films. There are other opportunities out there. So, things like that I think are so important. I mean, there was the whole uproar, wasn't there, with Hermione in Harry Potter being played, and she was an Olivia award-winning actress. And look at the uproar just because she was a black actress.
Yeah, exactly.
But even I'm useless at names, J.K. Rowling. Even she said, I never said what race she's going to be. So again, how come? Is that prejudice? Is it just what we're used to? It has to come from the top.
Definitely.
It's quite interesting that you say that it's coming from the top. So how do we educate those at the top and bring it back to?
I'm hoping it's going to be a the generations. Sometimes we get casting breakdowns for children. For teenagers, it might say a 16-year-old boy, this build, and it doesn't actually give a race. And the lady who runs my agency for me, Rhiannon, she'll phone up and she goes, what race? And they'll just say, oh, white. They assume it's white unless they specify a race. Now, I'm assuming that as our generations, as we get older, that will change, that mentality will change. Yeah. But again, I think we have to, encourage that to happen.
That's right, and it has to start with individuals.
Absolutely.
Isn't it?
And like I said, I don't think, sometimes when we say, how do you teach not to be, sometimes you can go over the top and people can be like, oh God, here we go again, when I grew up in Hackney, I was one of 3 white children in a class. I didn't even notice. I grew up colourblind. It's like all my friends were either black or Asian or the 2 white kids in the class. It didn't even occur to me. Then you get to teenager, you go to secondary school, and we're talking many moons ago. But, and then the teachers there, because they wanted to, apologise for all the bad stuff that's happened in the past, and you should learn from the past, and we've got to educate, but it was over at every class. It was about how badly black people have been treated. Even my black friends were like, oh, not this again.
There has to be a balance. Yeah.
Balance, absolutely. And sometimes you can go the other way.
Yeah, how do you get over it if you keep just
going over?
That's
right. It's about forgiving if you can.
That's right.
It's not about forgetting. But it's about moving on and moving forward.
I actually was speaking, I do a bit of counselling. I was actually speaking to someone who's been abused in a younger age in life, and I hadn't seen her for such a long time, and she came to actually see me. And it was just, not to break confidentiality, but, it's about not speaking about the same thing. You have spoken about that over and over and over again.
But she came back to show you the progress that she's made.
No, in actual fact, she came to speak about the same thing, and my voice was, let's not speak about that, because we've spoke about that more than many times. Let's speak about the future. What is your goals? What have you been doing, and things like that. And it is about getting that balance. It is about moving forward.
Absolutely. And again, sorry to harp on about it, but going back to funding, when you can only get funding because you're harping on about. Again, my black students are like, but we don't want to do gun crime drama. Yeah. We want to learn a bit of ballet. Yeah. We want to be able to use our voices. But you can't get funding for that because it doesn't tick the boxes. And yet that is what's going to help them. It's almost like, well, let's give them funding to do street dance, for example, and that's stereotyping.
You have to have a twist in your shows.
Yeah, precisely. And it kind of is almost like, let's keep them under the thumb so that they can't
keep them in that little,
with the rest of society. I'm sure it's not that, but sometimes when I'm getting on my high horse, I'm like, you just want to keep everyone under the thumb. Let's give everyone opportunity.
That's right.
I get quite passionate about that.
Thank you so much for coming here. You added a lot to the topic, isn't it? Very helpful, very interesting. Even for those who are watching, I'm sure they loved your presence here. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Keep up the good work.
Yes. Well, we are going to take a short break, but don't go away, as we will be back with more on Who Teaches Hate in our style segment with Jessica Ann.